You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
From the rolling bluffs of the Driftless region to the pristine shorelines of Superior in Michigan, from the Northwoods to the Kettle Moraine, Civic Media broadcasts across all of Wisconsin for all of Wisconsin. Take a trip with us across the radio network to hear from communities throughout the state. This is the Civic Media Spotlight.
Hello and welcome to the first hour of the Civic Media Spotlight. We kick it off with the Matenaer on Air show, where Jane and Greg discuss a story regarding an elected official who is receiving death threats because of his support of a law restricting certain flags from flying. They remind everyone that voting is how we raise our voices, and if you don't like who represents you, seek out those who will and vote them into office.
Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer on Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvin Butenoff, coming to you live from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. You can join us. Call or text or leave a voice note at 855-752-4842. You can leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Important thing about the voice note, though, you can do that via the Civic Media app. And there are a couple of really good reasons for you to get that app.
Name them, Jane. I dare you to show me the work on why the app is good.
Tomorrow is our final Free Ticket Friday of the summer.
Yeah.
So it's your last chance to pick up a 4-pack of Milwaukee Brewers club level tickets with
Squishy seats.
Squishy seats.
Don't give me the. I knew what to say.
Okay,
you're like, I gave you the script. There's squishy seats. There's carpeting. And it's really hot. Oh my gosh. The air conditioning, that's it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The club level, look, everyone wants to sit behind home plate in the first row. I get that. I understand that appeal. But club level just feels, I don't know, just like, this feels good.
Yeah, and you really get a really good view of home plate from these seats.
Honestly, in my opinion, there's no bad seat at the ballpark, as I call it, County Stadium 2, Electric Boogaloo. But yeah, the club level seats that we give out are really, really good. They're along home base, third base, home base. Yeah, it makes sense. And it's just great. It's just a great time. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If you win these tickets and you go to the game, we hope you go to the game. You should want to go to the game. But take pictures and send them to us through the Civic Media app. Oh my God!
The app is completely free.
Yes.
Tomorrow, as we said, is our final Free Ticket Friday for this 4-pack of Brewers tickets. So starting with Pat Kreitlow at 6 a.m., he will have a keyword for you.
Yes.
We will have a different one from 9 to 11. Tom Hartman, 11 to 2. Todd Albert, 2 to 4. Maggie Dawn, 4 to 6. That gives you 5 chances to enter.
And then Pete Schwab, 6 to 8.
Pete's not in this.
Oh, my mistake.
Not Free Ticket Fridays.
Ah, darn it.
But 5 chances starting tomorrow with Pat Kreitlow at 6 a.m. So download the Civic Media app for that. And then there is going to be a new multi-state text-to-win contest coming very, very soon.
Whoa.
With wonderful and fabulous prizes. That could, but probably won't change the course of your entire life.
I don't know. You might. I mean, who knows? Let's let the options stay open and keep your mind free to accept the possibilities
of life-changing prizes.
Civic Media app on your phone or device, and then you get in touch with it. And you can also listen to us anywhere in the world. You can choose. You can listen to us via any station. If you don't have access to, if there's a show you really like, and you're like, I can't listen to it, you can listen to it through the app. Shows. You can't listen to games through the app. That's a different thing.
That's a different thing.
But the app is just wonderful. It just makes sense. And you can get news. It's really, really just all-encompassing.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's completely free.
Yes.
So go to wherever you get your apps, download the Civic Media app, and then be ready tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. to get in the running for that 4-pack of Brewers tickets. And then our next multi-state text-to-win contest coming very, 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 very soon.
Do you know what else is free, Jane? The new Civic Media newsletter, too.
It is.
I mean, my goodness, there's just all sorts of stuff happening here.
It's great. We have reporters all over the state under the direction of our news director, Shelly Pittman. They are doing a great job, and it's really a one-stop shop for all of our happenings across all of the shows and across all of the networks. So download the Civic Media app, subscribe to our new daily Civic Media newsletter. It's all completely free.
Correct.
Wanted to start off with this. Brittany Merlot will be here in a little bit for a little weather and wine, and then we will lighten it up. But for right now, this shouldn't happen to anybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care what side of the issues you are on. This has to stop. This from WPR. Wisconsin GOP lawmaker says he's received death threats after his comments on the LGBTQ plus flag. We talked about this on Monday with Shali Pittman.
Yes.
That there is a new decision that only certain flags will be allowed to fly over the state capitol. This will not include the LGBTQ flag. There's certain parameters now that they're going to limit this. But Republican State Representative Jerry O'Connor says that he is in favor of limiting the amount of flags that can fly. And now he's been getting some really serious death threats.
Yeah.
There are more than a dozen, I don't know, maybe 24 death threats, including phrases like, this guy needs to be Charlie Kirked. This guy needs a lethal injection. We know where you live. You need to be hung in the public square. This needs to stop, people. And this happens all across the board. This, fearing violent threats, CDC medical experts are afraid to talk about vaccine safety. Former CDC Chief Medical Officer Deborah Hurry says, I have many people that won't speak about vaccines now and have taken their names off of papers. They don't want to present publicly anymore because they have been purposely targeted. I myself have been subject to threats. This needs to stop. From everybody.
Yeah. I don't. And I mentioned this earlier, and I mentioned this in the first hour. I hate that we have to say this out loud now that we're against political violence, because it should go without saying. It should be a given that while I disagree with this law they want to put into place that's limiting the amount of the flags they will fly on the Capitol, I do not think any harm should come to someone who does support it. And just to answer the question from Brendan on the live stream, he says, what about Pride Month? Too bad. No pride flag during Pride Month either. And this all stems from the fact that Tony Evers, a few years ago, flew the pride flag during Pride Month.
And was the first governor to do so.
And when you look at the story itself, it looks to be targeting the pride flag, and there was another flag in there that had to do with, like, not Black Lives Matters, but they want Juneteenth. Thank you very much, Calvin. I appreciate it. Thank you for that reminder. So read up about, and I have it in the show notes about what the law covers. And I do not agree with it, but I certainly do not agree with the threatening of anyone's life, because that solves nothing. It delegitimizes your platform personally.
Absolutely.
If you advocate for the violence of others, especially if you think the violence of those that you support is abhorrent, as it is. But if you think it's okay for others, then you have no credibility. So take a step back and just say, all right, this isn't good thinking. This is not how we achieve results. Yes, I don't like this law, but hopefully, guess what? Next year, we get to vote in about 400 days for our state Senate and our state assembly. And because of fairer maps, we have the ability to put new lawmakers into office. And that's what you should be focusing your time and attention. There are people making announcements every day in this state running for state Senate, state assembly, governor, lieutenant governor. If those are the people who represent you, get on board. Knock on doors, make phone calls, talk to people, because Jim just talked about in the last hour that there are Republicans out there who don't like what's happening. Find those individuals and empower them to speak up as well. But making snide, terrible comments online or through whatever medium you're choosing doesn't do anything.
Well, the threats are, stop it. Just stop it. And by the way, since we're on the subject of free speech.
Whoa.
Right. And let's share this.
Wow.
Because yes, we'll share this.
Yeah.
Free speech is important.
Yep.
Even if we don't like the things you say.
Yeah.
And we're not going to play the voice note because there's curse words in here, but let me share what just came in. Jane, you are a chain smoking hag. You're a skank. You're a childless B word. You're nasty and ugly. Grow up, get a job, become a Republican. You're a nasty, lying, retorting. Okay. And you're just a piece of blank. Good something. Okay. Grow up, get a job, become a Republican.
By the way, that's not my last name. Just,
Oh, spelling is not important. I support your right to say those things.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
It's called free speech. That's called your opinion.
Yeah. And there's another one too. There's another one.
Oh, good.
He's back. I'll say he's because he'll appreciate me,
acknowledging
his gender. Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing. The trolls, the people who disagree. So there's people who disagree with us, and I appreciate it. There are people who've called in, and I'm going to shout them out right now. Dave from Mequon, you've called and you've been respectful. We disagree and we talk, and that's it. That's great. I have respect for that. I love those conversations because we can go back and forth, and I want to have them. I don't want the person who left this very colorful voice note. Yes. I want nothing bad to happen to them because that doesn't make me happy at all. That would never make me happy. So, but when it comes to the trolls.
Well, my whole thing is, and again, you are certainly entitled to your opinion. It's only taken me 44 years to be called the C word. Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like that's an accomplishment.
That's a terrible high five.
It's an achievement.
But
you have the right to say those things. If you want to point out the flaws in my arguments, if you would like to point out the flaws in my logic.
Yes.
I welcome that. Absolutely.
Well, this guy who is now identifying himself, but I won't identify him.
I kind of think I know who it is.
Oh, I know. He said it.
Oh, good.
He's given it away in all the messages.
Oh,
but,
nice.
He also said that I don't have an American male haircut. I mean, see, that's the thing is like, yeah. See, that's the thing, Jane, is that those things have never bothered me because this is the one time I'll say this. I was bullied as a kid, so I've heard way worse.
I bet you have.
And so therefore, I'm just like, is this my weight? Oh God, not my weight, everybody.
No. Greg will just be over here, this blubbering
I'm
mess.
I'm crying liberal tears.
He's been completely blown out of the water.
Into my genderless vegan yogurt.
Mean comments.
Oh God, save me.
We'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think we will survive. This, again, going back to stop it. People have the right to disagree with you.
Yeah.
People have the right. It's called the First Amendment right to have opinions about things without being threatened, without being doxxed, without their children being put at risk. We're better.
I know you're really trying hard to say better.
I want us to be better than this.
I think there are a lot of us who are better than that. And unfortunately, the people who yell the loudest are the ones who are heard. If you don't have the money to buy a platform, then you have to scream louder than everybody else. And in certain instances, we see it all the time. Like the gentleman who he's trolling so hard, I think his house is under a bridge.
Afraid he's going to hurt himself.
I mean, and he only comes out every once in a while. And man, I like the end though. Grow up, get a job, and become a Republican. I'm grown up. I'm tall.
We're working.
I'm working my job right now.
Are we working?
I turn 50 in a few years.
We are actually working.
And that this is just a side note. We could talk about another day. Someone told me once. They said, Greg, as you get older and you get married and you'll become a conservative. That's how it works. Okay.
I've been married 23 years.
You own a home.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to happen. Especially with comments like that, because I want to be just like you.
But anyways, thanks for reaching out, everybody. We appreciate it. And Cassandra, you're absolutely right. Snowflakes, they are only on the left. Right, sure.
We're going to be warm and fuzzy on the other side. Brittany Merlot will be here with a little weather and wine. Stay with us. You're listening to Matenaer on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be right back to the dismay of some.
Matenaer on Air is part of the Civic Media Radio Network and airs on select Civic Media stations weekday mornings from 9 to 11. To learn more about this show and all of the Civic Media programming, check out the website at civicmedia.us/shows.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
We move on to the Maggie Dawn Show here on the Civic Media Spotlight, where we meet up with Dr. Kathleen Bartzen-Culver, who's the director of the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and joins the Maggie Dawn Show to discuss the cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel. She warns that efforts to amend or undermine a free press squander of one of democracy's core protections. Dr. Bartzen-Culver emphasizes that democracy cannot function without a free, independent, and objective press.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome if you're just joining us. I'm Maggie Dawn. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. Sorry, I ran out of time for my last thought from the great question from our listener, Chad in Greenfield. We're joined this hour by Dr. Katie Bartzen-Culver of UW-Madison. She's an expert in media and journalistic ethics. Chad made the point, Katie, that he didn't think what Jimmy Kimmel said was funny. And he made the point that Roseanne Barr got basically fired for saying things that some people thought were offensive and asking the question, what's the difference? And you wanted to respond.
Yeah, so I agree with Chad that I, in general, don't find Jimmy Kimmel particularly funny as a comic, and I don't watch him. And that's the market at work. So you see declining ratings for late night TV, and I'm in the camp that was also at play in the Colbert decision, not just the Skydance deal. It was a very complex situation. Yep. But I want to use that Barr situation as an example of a larger point here and something that we should all be aware of. I really hate the term cancel culture. I think we should be thinking of it instead as consequence culture. So Roseanne Barr put out a really hateful, disgusting, racist tweet. And Disney canceled her show, and that's a consequence. She made a choice to do that, and that's a consequence. They did that because they were going to, they have an obligation to their shareholders. They were going to lose advertisers. There are all sorts of reasons that a company would do that. They made that decision as a private entity. There was no government pressure making them do that. In Kimmel's case, we're talking about the FCC here. So there's a consequence, but there's a government actor involved. And so the larger issue is that we all, regardless of our political ideology, we all should be concerned about the consequences that flow when a government exerts its power over our beliefs and our rights to free expression. So when the chairman of the FCC, whether he is coming from Donald Trump's perspective or Joe Biden's perspective, is trying to control the content of a late night talk show, that should scare me. And it does scare me. And, you know, I don't agree with what Jimmy Kimmel said in this situation. I didn't find it funny, but I'm going to defend his right to say it. And I'm also going to wish that ABC stood up more strongly. And I'm going to say that, no, I absolutely disagree with Chairman Carr that this means that local stations have more voice and are serving the public, because any locality in the United States that's served by Nexstar had no choice whatsoever in this decision. You could have had all the Jimmy Kimmel fans in the world and they had no choice. So the larger issue here is the consequence for all of us when government exerts power over content.
It's called censorship, and that's what our Constitution is supposed to guard against. And if you missed it, Brendan Carr in 2019 and 2022 defending the idea that speech should not be censored by the government, saying political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of free speech, saying this, quote, the FCC does not have a roving mandate to police speech in the name of the public interest. But, today, Brendan Carr says this. Broadcasters have long retained the right to not air national programs that they believe are inconsistent with the public interest, including their local community's values. But here, the pressure on those affiliates is coming from Carr. You heard in the first sound clip we played this afternoon, Brendan Carr potentially threatening the local affiliates' licenses. That is what's happening here. So when it was President Joe Biden, Brendan Carr is all about the FCC should not have a roving mandate to police speech in the name of the public interest. and that political satire is an important form of free speech. Now, when it's Donald Trump in the White House, when it's his guy and his team, then he says, yep, the broadcasters should pull programs that they believe are inconsistent with the public interest, and also said they might review those licenses and potentially seek revocation of those licenses from those affiliates. That's the problem here. That is what Katie, Dr. Bartson-Culver, and I are trying to describe. Last question, Dr. Bartson-Culver. How important is a free press? How important is free speech in a functioning democracy?
I don't know how you have a democracy without it. I would amend I would amend your statement just a bit.
Sure.
I would say a free and responsible press. I think too often we think about our rights and we don't think about our responsibilities, and that has caused us to squander trust with the public. I think you heard a bit of that in some of the comments here, but I don't see how you have how we function as a democracy without a free and responsible press.
We cannot function as a democracy without a free and responsible press. We got rid of the equal time rule a long time ago. We used to read newspapers where the op-ed pages in hard copy had pro and con right next to it. Now, most of us consume news through what I'm going to call a confirmation bias machine, because that's what Facebook is, that's what X is, that's what every social media company does. It feeds you only the things that it knows you want to hear, see, and read. It's up to us to look more broadly, and seek responsible media outlets. We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much, Dr. Bartson-Culver, for sticking around for a whole hour. When we come back on the other side, I'll be joined by former Green Beret, retired U.S. Army, and whistleblower Lieutenant Anthony Aguilar, talking about potentially war crimes that he personally witnessed in Gaza. Stay tuned, folks. Another great discussion is up next here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
The Maggie Dawn Show is part of the Civic Media Radio Network and airs across the network weekday afternoons from 4 until 6. To learn more about this show and all of the Civic Media programming, check out the website at civicmedia.us/shows.
We move on to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on the Civic Media Spotlight. Pat discusses how, with a new made-up vaccine review panel created by Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr., parents need a way to look beyond the quackery in Washington, D.C. to get science-based answers to their vaccine questions. He talks to Wisconsin pediatrician Dr. Kelly Snooks, who has started a new video series for Up North News that includes information about how vaccines work. So give it a listen.
Tomorrow, of course, we'll have our regular weekend review panel with former U.S. Attorney Jim Santel, journalists Mark Jacob and Jennifer Schulze, Courier Newsroom's Kia Vakil, Dr. Kristen Lyerly, Mike Clemens with sports, Brittany Merlot's weekend forecast. Just a lot to tune into tomorrow. If you can't stick around, then put us on a podcast. Head over to Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure you follow Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Today, a federal committee that recommends vaccine policy for Americans is going to start meeting to review immunizations that have been in use for a very long time. It's called the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, ACIP, and it's expected to vote on shots for COVID and hepatitis B as well as others. And of course, as we've talked about, the Health Secretary, Robert Kennedy Jr., has frequently baselessly questioned the safety of these vaccines. And yesterday, you'll recall, we played a clip from Senator Tammy Baldwin talking to Susan Matenaer, who was ousted as head of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention after less than a month, because Matenaer says Kennedy directed her to commit in advance to approving everything this ACIP board is about to recommend, regardless of the scientific evidence. With this ongoing campaign trying to undermine public faith in vaccines, it's worth going back to basics and finding out just what vaccines are, what it is that makes them work the way that they do. And that fits right in the wheelhouse of pediatrician Dr. Kelly Snooks, who is beginning a new video series for Up North News called Raising Wisconsin. And her latest installment, which was posted yesterday, talks all about vaccines. We're going to give a listen to that before we talk live with Dr. Kelly Snooks.
Hey, Wisconsinites, have you ever wondered exactly what's happening inside your body after you get a vaccine? Like, how is it working to protect you? I'm Dr. Kelly Snooks, board-certified pediatrician, and you're here with this week's Raising Wisconsin. Now let's talk about how vaccines actually work. The vaccines we get today protect us against so many viruses and bacteria, and each vaccine contains what we call an antigen for the disease that it's meant to protect you against. It might be a weakened or killed part of that germ, or even a tiny piece of its genetic material. These antigens essentially mimic the illness, and they sound an alarm to your body's immune system. Your immune system creates what we call antibodies against that particular virus or bacteria. That way, the next time your body encounters the actual illness, it's like, wait a minute, I know what to do with this. Then the antibodies that you've stored up thanks to that vaccine spring into action and prevent that virus or bacteria from making you severely ill. It's your body's way of building a powerful defense without having to get really sick first.
That again is Dr. Kelly Snooks, who joins us now to talk about the Raising Wisconsin series she's doing for Up North News. Dr. Snooks, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Pat. Thanks for having me. I'm well. How are you?
Well, thank you very much. So nice to have you here and have you doing this series for us. We're going to talk much more generally about the series, but with vaccines in the news lately, I just wanted to check, certainly with my wife being a physician, I'm imagining that you, like her, have probably had that basic vaccines 101 conversation more so recently, maybe than in years past. It's always been a thing, helping parents understand vaccines, but understanding how vaccines work seems to be much more in the public consciousness these days.
Yeah, I think there has been a lot of discussion about vaccines lately, as we've seen with what's going on today. And I think that people are starting to get a lot of information and misinformation and really starting to question what is real and what is not. So these conversations about how vaccines work, what do they actually protect us against, have become far more common now than they were when I was even just doing general pediatrics during my residency training.
And yes, obviously it's part of the world that we live in now. There's a lot more information, therefore misinformation. And even if it's not misinformation, again, I think every doctor winces when a patient comes in and they got a referral from Dr. Google. And Dr. Google said, here's what you have. And then you have to maybe explain that that may not necessarily be the case. So let's be sympathetic to the patients there. We're surrounded by more information than ever before. So what kind of guidelines do you like to offer your own patients when it comes to what they read and hear versus what they could hear through a visit to your office?
Yeah, I think there's reassurance, right? That, like you had said, there's so much information at their fingertips, and they're not wrong to be concerned and look up this information to try and help them understand things a little bit better. I think when it comes to having those conversations with patients, we in medical school go through so much training on how to actually understand what studies have been gone through rigorous testing, what is some of the evidence that actually works to show that these treatments or vaccines, for example, are safe versus those that, are maybe not as safe, or what studies are out there that are the ones that people are getting a hold of and being concerned about, that actually those studies are not as rigorous or actually have some really big flaws to them. So, I think it's just that reassurance that you're okay to look this stuff up, but let's kind of go over what is the actual evidence behind these treatments or recommendations that we're giving you.
Yeah, exactly. And go through it together, go through the information because, and this is the awkward part to bring up, but it certainly reminds us of the early months of the pandemic. Science researchers, doctors, they're not infallible. And as we learned early on in the COVID pandemic, we were still learning our way through that. But that's not the same as being uninformed. It's simply taking you where the science takes you to next. And so less listeners are saying, oh, there goes another physician and another physician spouse with some kind of a, superiority complex or whatever. No, there's still things we don't know out there. But the alternative is not to just go based on innuendos and rumors and things like that, right?
Right. One of the things that I think we call ourselves in medicine is lifelong learners, because medicine is constantly evolving. But the reason that it's evolving is because, science has advanced so much over the past couple of centuries. I actually talk about that in one of my past videos. But the way that science is evolving, the way that these studies are going on, we are also learning, and our recommendations might be changing because of new evidence that we have learned from new studies or new treatments that are out there.
We're talking to Dr. Kelly Snooks. She's a pediatrician and is doing a video series for Up North News called Raising Wisconsin, which leads to this question. Doctors are busy people. you guys have been studying forever. You work in these long days. And now you're doing a video series, and you've been making videos on the internet for some time now. You're not the only doctor doing it, but can you talk to us about why you decided to get onto social media to start bringing these information to folks when, you could have just sat in an office with a clipboard all day, but you've decided to be more proactive. What motivated you?
Yeah, I think social media is a tool that you realize that you can reach so many people. I am a pediatric intensive care unit doctor, so I am seeing really sick kids, and a lot of what I'm seeing is actually preventable. So one of the first ways that I took to social media was actually for gun violence prevention because of what I was seeing at the bedside. And I think social media is one of those unique tools that can bring people together to connect, but then also has this reach that you can't even imagine, like how far your videos are actually going and being seen. And I think it's another way for us to just spread information and awareness about what is going on in the world, what's going on in public health. And as a pediatrician, public health and almost all these policy changes actually impact child health in a way that I don't think people can maybe understand or see. So it's my goal to kind of break that down and say, hey, here's what's actually going on, and here's how this can actually impact children.
What kinds of things would you like to emphasize in the Raising Wisconsin series? Things that either you've already done to start the series or things that you hope to do in the near future?
Yeah, so things that we've already done. So we have a few videos that are already out. One is just about like traveling safe during the summer. People are hitting the road, they are flying, airplanes are full of germs. So how do you stay safe when you're flying? And then also the history of vaccines is another one that's been out there. So where did vaccines come from in the first place? We go through the details of the overlap between the cowpox virus and the smallpox virus back from the 1700s. So we go into detail on that. And then the one that you had just recently played about how vaccines actually work. It's not going to be all about vaccines. We're also going to cover other topics as well. Seasonal allergies will be coming up, how to stay safe in the car as far as car seats and safety go, bug bites, things along those lines. So everything from general health and wellness about children to some of the stuff that's going on. And I would like to know what other people want to see too, really addressing viewers' comments to try and get on those topics.
Yeah, that's been a real focus of the videos is inviting people to share their own questions that can be addressed later on in the series. Dr. Kelly Snooks is with us. Tell us a bit about your own background and where you grew up, what led you to become a physician and go to med school.
Yeah, so I am originally from the south side of Chicago. Grew up a little girl that I think just was, that basic, I think I want to be a doctor when I grow up, and I stuck with it. I chose pediatrics and did my pediatrics training on the south side of Chicago because, children really don't have that much impact on their health in the future. A lot of the decisions that we make as an adult impact how they end up in the future. And I think that as a pediatrician, we have that unique ability to advocate for our patients to ensure that they can live healthy and fulfilling lives in the future. So that's why I chose pediatrics and went through that. I did medical school and my pediatrics training in Chicago, and then came up here to Milwaukee for my ICU training and have been here ever since. So yeah, that's why I kind of went that route.
And in working as a pediatrician, and you talk about the things that you've seen in the ICU, and so many times they are preventable. And we did, again, share some of the audio from people who, including the former chief medical officer of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Howery. And the soundbite concluded talking about, how many more children are getting the measles and sometimes getting complications and sometimes dying unnecessarily, and that we're seeing that uptick. And we're in a state here in Wisconsin, which I think would shock a lot of people, that when it comes to measles immunizations heading into kindergarten, our rate is low enough now that it doesn't meet the standard for what's called herd immunity. So can you talk a bit about just measles and kids and getting up to date on those vaccinations and the danger if that vaccination rate sinks as low as it has in Wisconsin?
Yeah. So, I think since the time that I've been in Wisconsin or in Milwaukee, and that's since 2018, we've had already 2 measles outbreaks. And like you said, our vaccination rates are really low in Milwaukee, below that herd immunity. Basically, that herd immunity rate is that enough people are protected against measles that if one individual were to get the measles, the rest of the community is protected enough that we will likely be able to overcome that and we won't see a large outbreak. Measles can be very scary when children get it. It can cause, brain damage and ultimately death from that measles virus. And that's why we emphasize so much those kindergartners, and actually even younger, you get it at 1 year, to start getting that measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine to protect themselves against these severe illnesses that they to those that are even younger. So if you think about the children that are under 1 that haven't been immunized yet against the measles, mumps, and rubella, those individuals are even more so at risk because when we don't have that herd immunity, then they also don't even have the chance to get themselves vaccinated yet. There are some unique circumstances, so I recommend everybody talking to their pediatrician about that if you're under 1 year old and want to get your child vaccinated against the measles.
Absolutely. And again, for more, you can check out the Raising Wisconsin video series on the Up North News social media feeds, and send in your questions as well that Dr. Kelly Snooks can use for a future video installment. Kelly, it's great to talk to you again. Thank you so much for all you do. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for having me. You as well.
All right. Good to have you here. Coming up in our next hour, we will talk to Sean O'Malley about your money and the markets, and what does it really mean that the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates a little bit yesterday as the economy sits on the verge of stagflation. Plus, Joe Zepecki and more. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Mornings with Pat Kreitlow is affiliated with the Civic Media Radio Network and airs on select Civic Media stations weekday mornings from 6 until 9. To learn more about this show and all of the Civic Media programming, check out the website at civicmedia.us/shows.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
To end off our first hour on the Civic Media Spotlight, we have Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Pete is joined by comedian Greg Schwem for a discussion on his upcoming charity event for cancer at Zanies in Rosemont. The guys debate the best athletes turned actors, with nods to David Bautista and Jason Statham, and discuss bad stadium behavior, including a viral Phillies game incident that ended very poorly.
Welcome back. I am Pete Schwaba. This is Nightlight. I want to give a shout out to my pal Mike Desitel, who is the one who put me in touch with Mike McGill. And he said, there's this guy from Appleton. He's an actor. And I was like, that's great. And then I looked him up and I'm like, I know Mike McGill. I've seen him in a ton of stuff. So it was great talking to Mike. And thank you, Mike Desitel. Mike's social media comment to our question of the night, who is the best professional athlete turned actor? Mike said, are you waiting for someone to say O.J. Simpson? I thought about O.J. Simpson earlier, and I was going to say it as a joke, but I can't even say him as a joke.
Wasn't he in Naked Gun?
He was in the original Naked Gun, and he was fine. He wasn't great. He was just...
He probably had other things on his mind.
Yeah, no kidding. Daniel Wheeler says Mike Ditka playing Mike Ditka in Kicking and Screaming.
Yes.
Yeah, he did well, but that's not really a stretch.
It was super funny.
It was. He followed himself around to get in character. Amanda Nimmer, our pal Amanda from here at WGBW, says John Cena, the man, has taken some of the most absurd roles and has become a very versatile actor. And Conrad added a quote that said, Ricky Stenicki is my fave. You guys both are big fans of the Seaman.
I love Ricky Stenicki. It's hilarious.
And Jay Campbell on social media says, Bob Euchre. Great one, Jay. Thank you. We've got some more text to get to. We'll get to those in a while. First, I want to bring on my good friend. He's also a syndicated columnist. He writes a column for his own column at Humor Hotel, and you can see his stuff at Tribune Media Services. And he's an all-around swell guy. Mr. Greg Schwem joins us now. Hey, buddy.
Hey, man. Good to see you again, Pete. And you know what? Can I just jump in? I think he hasn't really been in movies, but I'm going to go with Peyton Manning as far as just comedic timing. I mean, we always see him as commercials. So, but I mean, I don't know why the guy hasn't done more. I mean, Saturday Night Live, I think, was one of the funniest episodes that an athlete hosted.
Interesting. Did you see the one Tom Brady hosted years ago?
Yes.
I thought that was really funny too. When he was in his underwear in the office.
Yes. Yeah. I thought that I thought that they wrote good stuff for Tom Brady to do.
Right.
I think Peyton Manning is just naturally funny. And he's like that. I actually worked a corporate gig with him, and he's also good at improvising. He's a good off the cuff guy too.
And he yells Omaha, even when he audibles at a corporate event or
at a corporate event. Yeah, exactly.
That's what they pay for, to hear him say that, bro.
Right.
Well, that's cool. Thanks, Greg. I was going to ask you that anyway. So how are you? We haven't talked in a while.
It has been. It's been about 4 months or so. So yeah, it's been a great summer. and loving the Chicago weather, just like I'm sure you're loving the Wisconsin weather. It's beautiful right now.
Gorgeous.
You know?
Do you have a sunburn right now? I'm looking at you on the stream.
I do have a sunburn.
Okay.
I am outside an awful lot, and I just got finished with like about a 5-mile walk. It's just a perfect day for that. But I have spent almost the whole summer outside because we may have talked about this before, but I have taken on a side hustle when I'm not on the road doing comedy so we're like I have a corporate gig here in Chicago on Friday. I was in Atlanta last week for a corporate gig, but I give tours of Chicago. I give
cool.
walking and bike tours, and the weather has been, I've done that most of the summer. Love it. And the weather's just been so great. And I have spent my whole summer outside.
Wow. Well, you got to put some aloe on. That's all I'm saying is get something I'd hate to see.
Yeah.
Now, when you give these tours, Greg, are you having to avoid the ICE groups or the military in Chicago? Or
we have not seen the military yet. I get asked questions about that all the time. And I did predict so far correctly that the National Guard would not be coming to Chicago. I started to get asked by that. I said, they're not coming, and I don't think they'll be here. ICE is a different story, but no, the city has been so chill and so accommodating, I think, this summer, and tourism is just booming.
Oh, that's so great.
I don't really quite know where we're getting that, crime cesspool of crime thing.
Well, I know where it's coming.
We know where we're getting it, but yeah, yeah, but it ain't happening.
What are your favorite places to go in Chicago, Greg? Like, if you're giving tours and you're showing off your city, what are your favorite spots to show people?
Well, it's interesting because the tours that I give, are pretty structured. So I work for a company, we have them. So there's 3 that I give. The one is the most popular one is the one that you would expect when you come to Chicago. Like if you had one day and you would go see Michigan Avenue and the Bean and Millennium Park, and you'd go down State Street and you'd see the Chicago Theater and the Wrigley Building and all that kind of, that kind of stuff, Marina Towers. I give another one. This is on bikes. And this one goes through like 5 different neighborhoods. It starts down in like Streeterville, where the John Hancock building goes all the way up to Wrigley Field. And we go through several different neighborhoods. We go through Lakeview and Lincoln Park.
Nice.
And I love giving that one because it really gives people a chance to see where Chicagoans live. I always tell my groups, if you've got more than one day, you need to get out into the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You need to get into Logan Square and Wicker Park and Edgewater, because that's where Chicagoans live. It's like I always tell people, we don't, for the most part, we don't live on Michigan Avenue.
Right.
Just like if you go to New York City, people don't live in Times Square. They live on the Upper West Side and down in the Village and so forth. So I've spent a lot of the summer going to neighborhood festivals. And I love them because they're all like that weekend, the neighborhood. I don't care how much crime there is in the neighborhood or they always put their best foot forward.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to Taste of Cabrini this weekend. That's going to be awesome. An Englewood Fest was great.
I would do that too. Like I typically, when I go there now, I do the more touristy things or go to Second City or the zoo or whatever. But yeah, give me a tavern on a corner in a great neighborhood, man. Like that's the stuff absolutely. I miss the most.
A BYOB restaurant.
Yeah.
An ethnic restaurant. To me, those are that's city living. And,
all right.
I love it.
We are coming right back with Greg Schwemm. We're going to tell you about a really cool event he is part of to help raise funds for cancer. That is coming up next after the news. This is Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba is part of the Civic Media Radio Network and airs across the network weekdays from 6 until 8 p.m. To learn more about this show and all of the Civic Media programming, check out the website at civicmedia.us/shows.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.